A women's fencing match is getting global attention after a female fencer was given the ultimate punishment for refusing to compete against a biological man.
Wait, they gave her the ultimate punishment, meaning they killed her over this? They executed this college girl because she refused to compete against the transes man? That's absolutely insane. The transes cult has gone way too far.
USA fencer Sophie Turner was scheduled to face Redmond Sullivan at the University of Maryland. And this video you're looking at, posted on social media, shows that just as the match was about to begin, Turner took a knee, took off her mask, and forfeited the match in protest.
Hold on one second. I'm getting a report that maybe I'm misinterpreting what was said by the Fox News hosts, and they actually just disqualified her and gave her the highest level of punishment within the sport. I know it's a bit confusing for you guys, but that's apparently what happened. And yet again, we're confronted with another situation where a biological male who has all the natural advantages of a male is set to compete against a woman, and we have somebody who is standing up for herself, standing up for the whole purpose of women's rights, all while taking a knee, so she's metaphorically standing up, and of course, the whole system is coming down against her. And we're gonna break this down, we're gonna talk about this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
Now, because of that, Turner received a black card.
Okay, so look, guys, I promise you I want to take this story seriously. I promise you I want to engage with what is being presented to me, but the fact that she took a knee during a sport in protest, similarly to Colin Kaepernick, many people have said, and she received a black card, they gave her a black card for doing so, it's too funny for me to not point out how absurd that is. I mean, does this mean that she can now do and say things that other black individuals are allowed to do? Are we gonna hear her dropping the N-bomb? That would obviously be devastating for her. I don't think that black card actually gives her a pass in all the ways that I think it does. But yeah, whatever's going on in this particular sport, how they designate things appears to be dumb from top to bottom. I mean, again, you're allowing biological males to compete. Your greatest punishment for taking a knee is giving somebody a black card. It is very confusing for me.
That is the harshest penalty you can get in the sport, and she was disqualified from the event. The video gained more than 1 million views.
Not to mention that for some reason, this sport called fencing has nothing to do with putting up white picket fences, and it's actually about sword fighting with these little thin swords or whatever, and that is also too confusing for me to follow, and I hope that you guys out there in the audience are still keeping up, even though nothing about this story makes any sense at all whatsoever.
Turner told Fox News Digital, quote, "I looked at the ref and I said, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. I am a woman. This is a man, and this is a women's tournament, and I will not fence this individual."
Wow.
So look, obviously the video of this girl taking a knee in protest of the fact that she was matched up against a biological male has gone viral on its own, but that statement right there that she gave to the referee about how she's a woman, this is a man, and she refuses to fence this individual is likely the reason why she ended up getting this black card, because what you're supposed to do in this situation, if you're a woman, according to the progressives, is just shut up and take the beating, and if you're gonna quit, if you're gonna walk away, you have to do so in silence. But this woman decided that she was not only going to take a knee, but she was going to make a statement while doing so, and thus the entire USA fencing apparatus has come down on her head. She is being attacked repeatedly, and the interesting thing about this is what we find out throughout the course of this Fox News segment, which is that she didn't actually ever intend to face this individual, and in fact, whenever she saw this trans athlete on the board registered for a tournament, she would actually not participate in said tournament so she could avoid this situation.
Dr. Sapphire, she said that she wouldn't sign up for events when she saw this biological male was on the roster. This time, must have signed up after her. And she said, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it to God. If this person shows up to my event and is on my script, I would take a knee, and that would be God's will.
Now, of course, as you heard right there, it appears that she signed up for this particular event after checking if this individual would be there. And then after the fact, this individual signed up and she didn't want to back out, but she decided in that moment that if she was going to have this person on the card against her, that was the person that she was going to face, that this is how she was going to respond. And I give her credit for doing so. All these different various people talk about how the transes are stunning and brave and beautiful, But in reality, when all the public pressure is on one side, when all the social stigma is on one side, this woman decided to buck all of that. She decided to actually back up what she believes in, state it clearly, and she's not hiding behind it, and she is experiencing the consequences for this. Now, of course, some of you might be asking, wait a minute, if Trump issued an executive order that bans this particular thing and is supposed to direct the Department of Education to block this from happening in universities, why is this occurring? And hopefully we will find out the answer to that particular question later on throughout the course of this reporting, how this ends up playing out. But right now, I want to cut to an interview of this girl so you can hear her in her own words.
So this was an Olympic qualifying event. My understanding of it is. This was something that you had prepared all your life for. It wasn't an Olympic qualifying event? I'm sorry. I had heard that this morning.
No, it wasn't.
It was an important event, though.
So again, people, I want to take this story seriously, but it is kind of funny that this Fox News host ended up hearing at some point in time, probably from the misinformation machine that goes on X or other forms of social media, that this was an Olympic qualifying event. Apparently, this was not the case. Like I said and heard in previous reporting, it appears that this was a college event or something of the sort involving college-level athletes. So it is funny right off the top for us to see this girl laughing at this Fox News host for not knowing what's going on, for not really doing all of his research on this particular story. But again, I'm telling you, she has some salient words. She did end up standing up, or not literally standing up, but metaphorically standing up for what she believed in, and I do think she deserves a lot of credit for it. I just thought that was funny.
Right. So this was actually a regional tournament held by the USFA at the University of Maryland. So part of my pre-competition ritual is to check the online registration to see who is going to be there and just double check my check-in times. And on the registration list, I saw Redmond Sullivan's name listed there. And I recognized this individual from a previous Redux article that had been written stating that this person was a man who had previously competed on the men's team at Wagner and was now competing as a woman within the USFA. So from that point, I just got really disappointed with the USFA and with this tournament, and I just felt like at a loss. I'd already committed so much money to it and training hours, and I was literally looking forward to this. I do this tournament every year.
Yeah.
I think this may be like my 10th year in a row doing this tournament. And I just got really sad and I started crying.
So again, an interesting perspective right here. It appears to be that it was hosted at a university, but not a college tournament. It just happened to be the venue of there. And she put up her own money in order to participate in this. And of course, she found out through her research that this person was competing there. And it is quite notable that in college, he played on the male team before the transitioning. So obviously, there was going to be a severe advantage for this person. And again, when you have all these different various women sinking their own money, sinking their own time in order to compete in a female sport, only to be confronted with somebody who, again, played the male counterpart sport that's going to have a crazy unfair advantage against them, you understand why these people are so disturbed by this. And again, I will point out for those of you who are unaware that the purpose of male and female sports is completely different. Male sports is supposed to be the most competitive version of the sport. Anybody and everyone is allowed in a male sport, and the reason for that is because we want to see the best athletes on display. And by the way, if you're a female athlete, even though this doesn't really ever happen, that can compete on the men's level, there are actually no real rules that prohibit you from doing so in professional leagues, because like I always say as an example, if you could throw 97 miles an hour as a pitcher, you will be wanted on a Major League Baseball team. However, female sports exist in order to have a carve out for women, and the whole basis of it is that males are excluded from those sports so that they can have those female sports, because the athletic capabilities of women are significantly less than the capabilities of men. So one is about maximizing competition, the other is about limiting competition, and the one rule, the one basic limitation that you put on female sports is to not allow males in those sports. It's not that complicated. It's not that convoluted, but for whatever reason, USA Fencing seems to think that this is perfectly acceptable. And I think the confusion from the Fox News host earlier on that I was making fun of is actually more related to the fact that in the statement that USA Fencing put on social media, they claim that they followed the Olympic standard, which requires some period of time for transitioning, and therefore that is somehow going to reduce the male advantage in this particular sport, and therefore make it fair, make it even, when we know in reality that is not the case.
I told them that I was refusing to fence because this person is a man and I am a woman, and this is a women's tournament, and I refuse to fence on principle.
And then later, right after this, we see your opponent comes over. What did you say to your opponent at that point?
My opponent was a little bit confused, thinking that I was maybe hurt. And I said, no, I am refusing to fence you because I'm a woman and you are a man. I have much love and respect for you, but I will not compete against you.
Wow.
And
See,
he responded, okay, well, there's a, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, what was his response?
His response was, okay, but there's a member of the board of directors here, and he supports me, and there's a policy that says that I'm a woman and I'm allowed to compete in the women's tournament, and if you do this, you're going to get black carded. And I said, I know.
So what we find out is that after the initial statement that she gave to the referee that was read to you by the Fox News host, the transes athlete ended up coming over to this person and asking what was going on, checking if this individual was hurt, and she told this person clearly that she was not hurt, and the reason why she was taking a knee is because she didn't want to compete against a biological male, to which the transes ended up responding in this particular case, and basically said, well, guess what? There's somebody on the board that supports me, and they have declared me to be a woman, therefore I am allowed to compete in this particular event. And obviously that did not shake her. And then of course she was told that she would receive a black card for this, and she knew the risk, she knew the consequences of it, and she did in fact receive said black card.
So here's what USA Fencing said in a statement to Fox News Digital. USA Fencing enacted our current transgender and non-binary athlete policy in 2023. The policy was designed to expand access to the sport of fencing and create inclusive, safe spaces.
So look, yeah, USA Fencing did release this statement on social media saying that they have their transes policy. It dates back to 2023. It's about being inclusive and creating safe spaces and all that. But the thing is that once you start to be inclusive of biological men, you end up undoing the sole purpose of female sports. And again, the whole point of female sports is to be a carve out for the ladies. So this is an absurd proposal. And again, USA Fencing appears to be a private organization. I guess they can do whatever they want. So I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to do this. I thought in the beginning of this that they were a university organization, but it turns out they were just using a university as a venue. But that doesn't mean we can't disagree with it. That doesn't mean we can't side with this individual right here, Sophie, in this particular case. And that doesn't mean that we should just support a transes athlete being able to just dominate in the women's division. That being said, I don't want to hurl any unnecessary hate towards the individual that was competing against Sophie, and the reason for that is because this was allowed by the organization. As long as there's been sports in this country, there's been different levels of gamesmanship, and sometimes that escalates, like in this instance, to different levels of cheating. And if the organization is going to allow you to cheat, if they're going to allow you to get away with something like this, and you want to do it, and maybe there's a cash prize in it for you, I understand why this person would go for that cash prize. This isn't about hating the transes or anything of the sort. This is about acknowledging the lack of sense or logic in these particular leagues.
I have no choice as a woman, as a female, in where I compete. I am a woman, and I have an athletic disadvantage to men, so I compete in the women's division, which is where I rightfully am. But he has been given this opportunity to fence in the women's division, and he can easily compete in the men's division. He can also compete at mixed events in local tournaments if he wants. There is a place for him. So the idea that they're expanding the women's is just essentially making it an open tournament that can include men, and it ends up hurting me and other girls.
Look, I think this is a good point being made by her right here. She competes in the women's division because she has a disadvantage against men. Apparently, there are mixed gender versions of this sport where this person can go if they want to compete, but they decided, oh, well, guess what? This is USA Fencing, and we're going to follow these woke rules in the name of inclusion, even though they do have alternate events where they do allow females to compete against males, and that would be a suitable destination for for this person. Now, of course, obviously the backlash against this girl is really unfortunate. There are all these different lefties trying to pile on her, but I'm going to open up the floor to all of you at this moment in time so you could tell me what you think, even though I can guess what the overall temperature of the conversation will be. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a trans's cheating at fencing and some woman not standing for it. Till next time.